Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second webinar of the start of the school year. Getting the most out of Read Theory and what's new. Hopefully, some of you are back for more after our webinar last week. Maybe some of you, this is your first time, or you've been to webinars in the past. Or it's your absolute first time. Either way, we are so excited to have all of you here. And just know that today's session is really designed to help you get more out of the platform with less work on your end. So you can think of this as to how to maximize and plan ahead. I am seeing people already putting some things in the chat, which is awesome. I'm going to look at that in a moment, but please go ahead and drop your school name and the state that you're joining from into the chat, because I have learned if I say I'm from Orange High School, there is one in North Carolina and there's one in Kansas and one probably in 5 other states. So share that with us. While you all are doing that, we'll go ahead and introduce who you have here with you today from Read Theory. So my name is Chelsea. I'm a former educator who does some work with Read Theory as well. And we also have Lisa, who I will let introduce herself so she can say a little bit.
Hey everybody, I'm Lisa, and I work here with our school partnerships, and I was a teacher for about 15 years. I taught third grade, was a school administrator, have been here for a couple of years, and I'm excited to jump in today.
Awesome. And I'm seeing a few people here. I'm not trying to show bias or favoritism, but I am seeing some people who are making note that they taught special ed. I'm seeing some that are 6th grade, 8th grade. I was a special ed and interventionist focused in middle school. So heart goes out to all of you. I'm seeing people in Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, Indiana, Alabama. So we are really coming from all over, which is super exciting because that means we get to all learn from each other. I'm even seeing in the UAE, so we even have international
I think
here.
we have Vietnam on here as well. I saw
Yeah,
Vietnam.
I see Libya. Oh my goodness, there are so many. That is awesome. And I'm also seeing some repeats. I'm going to shout out Heather. I feel like I see Heather from Joplin, Missouri all the time. So welcome back. Okay, awesome. So if this is your first webinar, we do have a surprise for you, but if you're returning, you know the drill. So if you stay with us until the end of the session and you participate in the chat, well, then you will be entered at the end to win some Read Theory swag. And who doesn't want to be in their Read Theory era, if you know what I'm saying? So, as I said, to be eligible, all you need to do is stay throughout the webinar and engage with us in the chat, whether that is answering questions, sharing your perspective, or maybe even asking a question of your own, which we will have time for at the end. So feel free to throw them into the chat. If you're see that Q&A feature up at the top, you can also go ahead and throw them into the Q&A. It'll make it really easy for me to see those at the end there. Now, if you know me or you have been to a Read Theory webinar before, you will know that I love a good game. And it's even better if it is a game that I can take back to my classroom. And so, one of my favorite ways to build excitement around reading is with simple conversation starters. They take less than 5 minutes, they help your students get to know each other, and they also help you to get to know your students as readers. So, I would love to kick us off today by playing a quick game of Would You Rather? And so I want you to answer these questions just like you would ask your students to do. But if you are like me and you're really big in movement in your classroom, I would probably have them get up and move to different sides of the room, and then we can have conversation with it. But for now, since we are all just here, you can just throw your answers into the chat. So our first, would you rather? Would you rather read one really long book or 5 short books? And you can just say 1 or 5 if you want to keep it simple in the chat. But curious what people are thinking. 1 really long or 5 short? Okay. I see someone who says both. That means you really love to read, and I love that. You should be here with us. But it looks like 5 is kind of taking the lead there. 1, if it is delicious, I love it. Is 5 in a series? It can be, or it could just be 5 different ones. Awesome. See, they're nuanced, and that can lead to great conversation. My next one here, would you rather, and I need to click back over, read a mystery or read an adventure story? I know my answer here, but I will pause so I don't bias anyone else. Mystery or adventure? All right, I see majority of these answers are coming in and we are aligned. I love a good mystery, a good thriller. I think those are amazing. But that's also my favorite type of movie. So there might be a connection between that. So while most of us are saying mystery, I do see a few both, and I do see a couple of adventures as well. Awesome. Our next one, would you rather read the book first or watch the movie first? Book or movie? It's okay. History is also pretty cool to read, so. All right, I'm looking through and they're coming through so fast. I love it. I'm seeing a bunch of books. Book first. I did see some movies. I will say, personal experience, I read The Great Gatsby, and between you and I was not a huge fan of The Great Gatsby until I got to chapter 7. By the end of the book, I was crying, and I watched the movie, and I felt like I liked the book more. But it's always fun and interesting to compare the movies and the books. Like, our 6th graders, they used to watch, Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief. They got to read the book and then go to the movie, as a like, they would host it in our gym or something. And they had so much fun with it, but we would always have discussions about what they preferred and comparing how was the book different from the movie, and were there changes that the movie made that you thought were really good or that were really bad, and so on. So awesome. We have a few more here. Would you rather visit the world of your favorite book or meet your favorite book character in real life? So we're just throwing worlds or character. I do agree with that statement, Michelle. A lot of times they do. Awesome. I'm seeing a lot of worlds here. Any Harry Potter fans, if you've ever gone to Orlando, maybe you've gone to the Harry Potter world or something too. But okay, so lots of good answers. And I'm going to pause on how much I'm talking about each one, but just know you can have conversations with your students about these. So I have 2 more. Would you rather read curled up under a blanket on a rainy day or outside in the sunshine? Since I'm with a lot of teachers who teach ELA, I would not be surprised if a lot of you said both. But I always like to think when it's rainy outside, just being on my blanket, curled up on a couch, reading a book, I'm like, oh, this is so nice. What a nice way to relax. Oh, yeah. See, I knew there were gonna be a lot of both, but there's actually a lot of rainy and sunshine. So we are across the board on that one. Outside for the vitamin D. I like that. That is strategic thinking. Maybe you guys can take your students outside to read. I'm sure mine would love that. And then my last one, would you rather be able to read 2 times as fast or remember everything that you read? I see 2 times. I'm seeing a lot of remembers. Yeah, sometimes I think about 2 times, I think about listening to an audiobook and just listening to it at 2 times speed, and I'm like, "Wow, I can read really fast." But I do see a lot of remembers. I did see a question I wanna answer really quickly while we're here is, what do you do with readers who are a little more reluctant? This is a really great time where you can think more about the types of things that they read and doing a little bit more of would you rathers with, like, different, genres of reading, and that'll also help you get a better idea of what they might be interested in, which we can talk a little bit later about how you can use read theory for that as well. But if you think about like a book or a movie, that's an easy one. Mystery or adventures, that's also another one. Or if you want to talk about real life examples and even show pictures, like would you rather go to Hogwarts or would you rather meet I don't know, Captain Underpants. I just went with two completely different wild things to compare there. But the options are endless. And then if they can see images, they may be like, wow, it'd be really cool to go there. Or, Captain Underpants looks like a dope dude. So maybe I want to meet him. So it's a really great way just to kind of integrate that a little bit more. And so with these activities, you're doing more than just getting the students to talk, because this is helping you learn what motivates them as readers. You can discover who loves mysteries, who prefers nonfiction, which I don't know many students who do, but there are definitely some that do. Who is always interested in maybe graphic novels. And those little insights can help you make recommendations on passages that they'll actually be excited to read, and build a reading routine that feels personal from day one. And that's the theme of today's webinar. So we're going to look at simple strategies that help students engage with reading consistently, how to track their growth along the way, as well as some exciting updates coming to Read Theory this year. So I want to start with something that every teacher wonders at the beginning of the year, and that is, how much Read Theory should my students actually be doing? And we analyzed more than 26,000 classrooms and nearly 500,000 engaged students. And the big takeaway that we found was that the classrooms that practiced consistently grew up to 7.6 times faster than classrooms that didn't. And that is huge, right? And so, what were those classrooms doing differently? And interestingly enough, it wasn't anything complicated. You'll notice that they practice every week. It was about consistency, not marathon sessions. So, if we have our students and we say, hey, you're going to do Read Theory for 40 minutes one time a month, that's more of a marathon than it would be creating that consistent practice. Whereas you might say, hey, we're going to do it as a warm up every day, or as a station once a week, or whatever that might be. But thinking, how do we make it more consistent for our students? They also got everyone playing. And so the more students who are actively participating, the stronger the overall classroom growth. And finally, they encouraged even their strongest readers. And so we want to remember, we don't want to stop our advanced readers once they hit a grade level, or say, hey, I'm actually going to just make you stay at this grade level nonstop, because this is where you really need to be. We want to keep feeding them challenging reading so that they can continue to grow. And I think this might be actually my favorite finding, is that sometimes we wonder if students eventually get enough practice. And data says no, right? If we think about a basketball player, we don't say, hey, you're really good at making free throws, so you can stop practicing that, right? The best players are going to keep shooting, and they're going to keep practicing, because that's how they stay sharp, and it's how they continue to improve. And so reading is going to work that same way. Just because a student is already a strong reader doesn't mean they've maxed out their growth. That more meaningful reading continues to produce more meaningful growth. So don't feel like you need to slow down any of your readers at any point. And that's the nice thing about Read Theory, is adaptive. So it can keep building them and helping them grow in that sense. When you think about what this looks like in a classroom and that consistency that we talk about, we do recommend that students get 100 knowledge points each week, which usually works out to be about 5 past quizzes. And that tends to be a really manageable goal for most classrooms, while still creating that consistent practice. Um, so if you're newer to Read Theory, you might actually be wondering, well, Chelsea, what are knowledge points? And so you can think of them as a way to reward genuine reading rather than completion. So students can earn points by answering questions correctly, passing quizzes, and demonstrating understanding. And it's really easy to also set up in the platform. So rather than having to go through and assign it every single week manually, Read Theory can actually allow you to set it as a recurring weekly activity. So under activities, you'd be able to choose recurring weekly activity. You could set what you wanted it to be, and then it'll help you actually keep track of that over time. So it'll auto assign and auto grade for you, so you can keep track of where your students are. I've seen some teachers who use this as a participation grade, but you definitely don't have to use it for grading, right? I've also seen some teachers use the knowledge points earned to go to their classroom store at the end of the week. So there are a lot of different ways that this can be utilized. And honestly, this is one of my favorite time saving features because you set it and forget it until you look at the data, but you don't have to remember to set that every single week. Now, I want to switch gears for a moment because once students are practicing consistently, the next question is, well, how do you actually know how your students are doing? And so I want to dive into our reports. And so within our dashboards, uh, it is designed to answer very specific questions, right? We want to be able to identify who's growing, who's struggling, where is our class succeeding, and where might they need extra support. And so I'm going to jump right into the platform here to show you what that looks like. Now, something that's new this year is that for our free users, you do have access to all of the reports. The one thing that I do like to mention for the free is that it still is only up to those 30 days of data. So if you kept the free plan, you would have access to all the reports in here. None of them are going to be blocked off for you, but it is something to think about how you keep track of that over time. So I'm going to go through some of these really quickly and just highlight a few things that I think get asked a lot. One is like, the data looks wrong. First thing I would always recommend is checking the calendar. So you can change your calendar here so you can look at different dates from there. I'm going to leave it as is for now, just as we're looking. But up at the top here, this is our class overview report. So we're going to start with class reports. This is thinking how many students I have, how many are active. If they're active, it means they've completed at least one quiz. It'll show you how many quizzes your class has completed, how many knowledge points they've earned, the average grade level, and average Lexile level. And again, this is all based on the date range that I have listed up here. I love this report because it's a really quick way to kind of see different things. I can see here, my class is 64% are doing well with craft and structure. But I'm also noticing, we're getting higher. 43% of my class is not doing well with key ideas and details. So I can use this data to kind of think, what else might I reteach? It'll show you quizzes taken by students, passed and failed, grade level performance, Lexile level, as well as knowledge points. But you'll notice that each of them also say view full report. And that is because that will link you right to the reports underneath. So under quizzes taken, it's going to go ahead and show me a few different things. First, the name of my student, how many quizzes they've taken. If you hover over, you can see a little bit more details about how many have been passed versus not passed, how many are at their pretest level, if it was above or below. And you can also see pacing and average time spent per student. So pacing, if it's green, it means they're at a typical average pace of how they're completing their quizzes. If it's yellow, they're moving a little slower than average. And if you see red, which I don't have any red in here right now, given my date range, that means they're moving at a faster pace. So if I'm noticing that Jill is like not passing a lot of quizzes and Jill also has a red pacer, I'm like, Jill, are you actually taking your time during these quizzes? Or are we rushing through them? And you can also see that average time spent here. One thing to think about this is once they start the quiz. So if you see someone completed a quiz in 30 seconds, that would mean that they read the passage and answered all 5 questions or however many questions was in that passage in 30 seconds, which to me, I'd be like, whoa, either you are speedy and you can read 2 times faster, or we are really rushing through this. So again, thinking about how that compares to how they're performing on their quizzes is something to think about. We also have our quiz progression report, which is just showing you over time the number of quizzes that have been taken on your class. And then there is grade level and Lexile level progression. So these are similar. So I'm going to highlight just the few caveats of it that I think are really helpful. You can click up here what you want to be seen. So if I'm like, I actually just want to see their pretest assessments, I can do that. If I hover over, it's going to show me what their pretest was, their range start, and their current. Again, this is based on the date range that I have, so it could look different depending on when. And range start is based on where they were when this range actually started. And then you can see student average and their current level. So if you hover over, you can see them. I am a big fan of the table. because it's just really easy to see across the board. So Alexander has taken 26 quizzes. Their pretest level is at a 3rd grade. Right now they're working at a 6th grade, and that average is 6.04. So I think it's really clean. You'll notice that if they are going down, you'll see a little red arrow. If they're going up, you'll see a little green arrow. So really exciting to kind of just have those visuals there. The Lexile progression works in the same way. So this is thinking about what that Lexile level is compared to the reading assignment that they've completed. And then you also have your knowledge points. So this could be a fun way to kind of do a classroom challenge or a school-wide challenge where you're kind of looking at where are our students, and you can give awards or kind of show the leaderboard throughout the week as a way to encourage those or offer a little bit of a competition. The other ones I really want to highlight here are curriculum standards. This is, again, showing you what you looked at on that class overview where they're performing. And if I look here, I might say, wow, only 29% of my students are being successful with needs improvement. So I could actually click see details for each student, and it's going to show me my entire class. So it'll show me what percent they've answered correctly, how many questions they've had, as well as, where they're at. You can sort by correct answers. I feel like this one probably would be better if I showed it more of a longer way. I'm just going to do the last 30 days, and let's try to update that just a little bit more. So you're able to, again, break it down, see those details. If I was thinking about setting up small groups and I was like, okay, well, 65% of us are doing well with theme, but I want to check which ones of us are not. I'm going to ignore the ones that don't have data for this time. I can see that Marilyn is 75% correct. Alexander, William, and Kendra are not. So I might think about doing a small group rotation with them or doing some additional work, maybe even assigning them a specific activity with theme or tone. And then you'll also have your benchmark data here. So if you are scheduling benchmarks throughout the year, it'll show you as a class where they are. Now, the student reports are very similar, but as you might guess, they are student specific. So if I look at my progress snapshot, it's going to give me a quick overview of where my students are. You can also click the over button down here to go to the next student. Within quiz history, one thing that's different here is you can see the exact time spent on each quiz that they've taken. And if I were to click on a quiz, I'm actually able to enter review mode where I can see the questions they answered, which ones they got wrong. And so if you wanted to pull students or have them do a self-reflection, they could do that as well. When we go through quiz progression, Lexile progression, those are still very similar. You can see individual knowledge points over time, individual curriculum standards, if you want to look at it from an individual place instead of a classroom base. And then the benchmark test looks slightly different on an individual student. So I'm going to click this February benchmark. And this is something that is newer. So it's going to show me their grade level compared to the class, as well as Lexile and class average. And then it's also showing you within those 3 key domains where your students are performing. So for this student, Alexander Brown, craft and structure is where we're struggling the most. But you will also have insights. This is great for IEPs, for intervention plans, for parent meetings, things like that. It's going to tell you what the student is doing well with, areas of strength, areas for growth, and also a recommended roadmap on how you can continue to build those skills. So all of that will be listed out here for you. And you can also click down and see how many questions they were given, how many they got right, as well as how long it took them to take it. So you get a lot of really great data from these benchmarks that, unlike other platforms where you might have to do it during certain timeframes, you can assign a benchmark at any point during the year. So you can decide, if I have 3 tests that I have to give in February between the district and the state and, my own test, I can, push this back further or do it sooner. You have flexibility with that. So that's something else. And then you also have this activities tab where we'll show you, when you assigned activities, who completed them and things like that. So I'm going to pause for a moment. I know that's a lot to take in as far as these reports. Luckily, this is recorded, so you can always come back to it. But I do want to quickly show you also what is new this year aside from the benchmarks. And that is going to be our content library, which I'm going to show you in the platform as well. So we have expanded our passage library. So we have fresh topics across every interest and level. You are going to see more articles that are going to help promote cross-curricular reading support, more science, more history, more about current events, trending topics that our students are talking about, thinking about, seeing on social media feeds. What is happening in the world, right? And we're here to help keep reading exciting and help keep our students engaged and curious. And so within this, you'll be able to search by different skills, things like main idea, inference, vocabulary. And you also have the option to look at online and printable. So if I looked at students and I was like, they're actually not doing well, I wanted to keep them offline for today. Let's take a break from computers. You could look for just printable only options. But if I needed a student to work on theme, I could then assign this directly to them within the platform, and they can work on this as their next quiz. You'll also see that we have different topics. So you have genres, biographies, holidays, seasons, subjects. So a lot of different ways that you can kind of go through this a little bit more and see what is available for your students to go through. If you are looking for the content catalog, if you click on your progress reports, then that content catalog will go ahead and pop up for you. So great question. You should be able to see that one there. And we're also building instructional supports, things like graphic organizers, worksheets, because we want to make it easier to find and use. So we're putting everything in one place so you can pair that independent reading with meaningful instruction. So all of that will live there. I did highlight the benchmark. So instead of having to pull data from multiple assessments, you can monitor beginning, middle, and end of year progress right inside of Read Theory. And I know I've seen quite a few questions about this, and Lisa's been answering. But one other update we're really excited about is that Read Theory is completely ad-free, even on the free plan. And so when Read Theory was first started, it was in a classroom, and there was this one goal in mind, that every student deserves to become a strong reader. And that shouldn't cost anything for our students to be successful. And that promise is still true today because of you all, because of our teachers. You brought Read Theory into your classroom, you told a colleague, you shared it in a chat. And that's why our platform reaches millions of students. And so a few weeks ago, we wanted to bring that promise back to life. And so we removed ads from the free plan because literacy is free with no catch and no interruptions. And we can't continue to reach more and more classrooms without you. So if Read Theory has helped your students, please tell other teachers and pass it on so other teachers and students can continue to benefit from this new change.
Chelsea, can I jump in with one quick thing that I see popping up that I don't think you might have mentioned? The content catalog is not live yet. So just a small asterisk on that. If you're one of the people who's saying, I don't see it, you will. Probably, fingers crossed, we've been told late next week, but in the next couple weeks, you'll see it. So we're giving you a preview of what's not quite there yet, but I promise it's coming. I just wanted to clarify that.
Awesome. Thanks for that clarification, Lisa. If you are interested in exploring more of what Read Theory has to offer, August is a really great time this month and moving forward. We're going to be offering school plan trials. So if you're a school, you can experience these additional features as they're kicking off the new school year. If you've been wondering what the school plan includes, or you're thinking about implementing Read Theory across multiple grade levels, or within multiple classrooms of a grade level, this is a great opportunity to explore that. So if that sounds interesting to you, we've made it easy for you to learn more. You can request info, or you can scan this QR code and it'll let you fill out a form so a member of our team can reach out to you. Now, while you all take a look at that, I am going to look at the Q&A because I know I've been trying to keep up, but you all have been doing such a fantastic job of chatting. Awesome. To assign the benchmark, if you go into activities, you can create a new activity, and you can then hit that benchmark and decide what classes you're assigning it to, what students, if you're only giving it to a few, to all. You can set the date range for that benchmark, as well as a start and end time, and then click continue. So that one is there. Let me scroll through all of these. Let's see, what new feature do you recommend for improving students? When I think about recommending what I recommend for improving students' reading comprehension and engagement, something else that is going to be coming in here is, and Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but the AI passage generator is going to be moving into the platform, and it's going to be available for you to actually assign within the platform. So for those students who don't really engage, or they're like, reading's just not my thing, doing those like would you rathers at the beginning of the year, or just learning more about what they're interested in, I would definitely create passages that are relevant to what the students interest, like what interests them, just to kind of get them to keep that practicing. Now, I know end of grade testing, they don't ever get to read anything that's exciting. Those tests are, so much fun. But while we're continuing to help them build those skills, it's a really great way to bring it in. I also recommend connecting with, like, if your students, especially in that elementary level, like they get to go to librarian knows more about what they're interested in, or they can say, hey, they tend to check out these types of books. Again, creating some passages related to that will be really helpful for them. I'm looking at, I start a competition every week, but I wonder how many knowledge points I should require. Again, if you're setting a minimum, I would definitely set that minimum as 100. And say, hey, we have to meet 100, but we'll kind of see where we're going. If you're trying to make sure that they're having that consistency there and passing at least 5 quizzes. I've had some teachers who say, I just say, hey, we're doing a competition. There's no cap, there's no minimum, and they just look at that over time. And they'll show the leaderboard at the start or end of class every day and say, hey, like I can see that Lisa is number 1 this week, but Courtney is, only 20 knowledge points behind. Like, who's gonna win? Who can catch up? So you can do it that way as well. As far as a warm up, is it better to say spend 7 minutes or complete 3 lessons? I would say let's do 7 minutes. Solely because I wouldn't want my students, especially if they were a slower reader, to rush through the lessons. So I would say maybe set a time limit. Hey, we're going to do the first 10 minutes of class is going to be read theory time. Let's get through what you can. And just remember, we have a goal of passing 5 quizzes by the end of the week, or whatever it might be that you're setting. That way they don't feel rushed to kind of just click through different questions there. There is a subscription for school. There is also a class subscription. Correct me, Lisa, if I'm wrong, but there is also a class subscription.
There are some updates. There are a whole bunch of questions that I see relating to the different plans. Hopefully by the end of next week, it'll be live, but there are some changes coming to the different plans. So yes, the answer to all of these questions about what comes with each plan and all of that, there'll be some clarity coming by the end of next week, by the beginning of the following week at the latest. But know that there is a free plan that many of you use. There's a teacher plan, so for one classroom, that many of you use. And there's a school and district plan that also I've seen some people in the chat who use as well. So there are the 3 different options. There will continue to be the 3 options. There are different things that come with each one. But in terms of all the questions about what's coming, what's included with free and Teacher Pro and school, a little bit more clarity coming to those updates in the next week or so. I will say I specifically see questions about the benchmark. That one I can answer for you. The benchmark will be available to everybody. So you are all going to have access to the benchmark. It is not live yet. It's coming. August 15th is our target date for all the updates to roll out, just so you know. And the benchmark will be available to you then. What you saw written wasn't premium or anything, whoever mentioned that. It was beta, because that was in beta testing in the spring. So when we roll out all these updates, everybody will see the benchmark. You will all be able to review that with the asterisk on the free plan about the 30 days. So you'll be able to see it for 30 days after it's taken, but you'll all have access to the benchmark. The other small note I'll make, because I've talked to a bunch of schools about this, is with the benchmark, even though the report isn't visible to you yet, the back end of what's happening right now is using that benchmark assessment, meaning the day that that goes live, you will see the reporting for anything students have done from now through then. So if you're back in school already and you're wondering, should I wait till the 15th or when I see that benchmark pop up to give the benchmark to students? No, you should not. You'll be able to see it. Even if they take it now, we have the data to show you the reporting on it. So don't feel like you need to wait. You'll see the reporting just as soon as that goes live. But I wanted to address all those free and paid questions because I get them. We're always happy to talk through them with you. And there's some updates coming really, really soon. All right, Chelsea, you can jump back in.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds good. I did see another question, Christy. I'm going to put Lisa's email in the chat. So if you want to reach out to her, she can make sure you get connected to the right person to help you out there. I know we are over time, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it to Lisa. I'm going to do a quick run through of the chat as well, just to make sure there's nothing missing. But we are now getting to the exciting part. Oh, I skipped one. I'm so sorry. We have another session on Thursday. Benchmark with confidence. So those who are curious about benchmarking, how do you set these things up? This is a great one. Again, if you can't attend, we will still send the recording. So come back, join us, sign up. You'll get a lot of information about those benchmarks. And now we are at the shirt giveaway. So I'm going to throw it over to Lisa to help pick our winner.
All right, we have our wheel like we had last week. So I'm going to click the wheel. Whoever comes up, all of you people who were participating, I tried to get everybody on here. Whoever comes up, I need to know which t-shirt you want, the size, and your address to mail it to. Chelsea just threw my email address, I think, in the chat for Christy, but whoever wins this, feel free to email me at the same email address, lisas@readtheory.org, and we will take care of getting you your t-shirt. And with that said, here we go. Who's it going to be? Who do we have? Yay! Good job. And I don't want to mispronounce your name, so I apologize, but Sod, I hope. We are happy to get you your t-shirt. So please feel free to drop me an email with your name, the t-shirt you want, the size, and your address, and we will take care of getting that to you.
Awesome. Lisa, can you remind me, is it Lisa S or just Lisa? I always get
Lisa S at Read Theory.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. So I put that in the chat for Christy as well as our winner of the t-shirt. So feel free, again, size, shirt preference, and address for us to send that to. I was trying to answer a few other questions in the chat here as I was going through. One thing, just because our t-shirt winner did ask this question, is the best way to use with students who have different reading levels. I think that is one of the highlights of Read Theory, is that it is already adaptive. And so it's going to differentiate for you. But if you want to assign specific articles at different grade levels or based on interest, you can do that as well. But because it is built to be adaptive, I think that really helps cover that differentiation through the platform. All right, I have spent a lot of time talking. I promised I wasn't going to go over today, and yet here I am again. Can you tell I'm excited? So with that, as a reminder, in the next 2-ish hours, we are going to send you the recording. You're also going to get access to the Getting Started checklist, and you do get a CEU for being here. So just keep an eye out for that, and hopefully we will see you all on Thursday to dive more into benchmarks. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.